Howdy race fans, welcome to my little show about racing I like to call In the Pits. And In the Pits is brought to you with me, StockCar Scott, once a week on the YouTube channel of your choice. When I feel like it, because I don't have any sponsors. Nobody tells me what to do here except for, as race fans know, Mrs. StockCar Scott. So, I'm here this week on location for a very special episode here in my home state of Alabama, because I'm here with my younger brother that you met last year during the Dennis Smitham Memorial Show. Say hey, Jamie.
Hey, everybody.
You're supposed to say hey, Jamie. But anyway, so we're here to see if we can entertain you with a little race knowledge. Like I said, this week at Talladega. And of course, not only is this show special because I'm here again with my brother, I'm here in Alabama, but this is the 50th episode of In the Pits with StockCar Scott. So let's get going with this one. Always start with Friday unless something happened on Thursday. Nothing happened on Thursday, so we'll start with Friday. But I didn't see any practice. Not F1 practice, NASCAR, nothing. I didn't watch any practice this week because we were busy. We went to one of my favorite places on this whole earth. It's called Shiloh National Battlefield Park in Tennessee. And when I lived down here, I used to go just all the time, do a little Civil War history, Civil War buff in me. Always loved going there and to a lot of other battlefields, but Shiloh, always my favorite. So when I knew I was going to come down here for a trip, I knew I was going to go to Shiloh. That's just one of the things we do. And if you know you're a little Hebrew, you know that Shiloh means place of peace. And for me, that is very true, because it is just one of those places I can come to kind of find myself. And I took my little brother years ago and infected him with the same Civil War buff bug there. So we have enjoyed going there for years and years. And of course, when I got back, that was the first thing that we had to do was go visit. And it was really nice because they have monuments and markers that really tell you how the battle went. Show you where the troops were and everything, but this year was extra special because there was a new monument. That new monument was to the troops that fought at that battle from the state of Mississippi. And this had been in the works for a long time. People, some of the original veterans had worked to collect money. They had been collecting funds for that monument since, I think the lady at the bookstore that told us the story, she said it had been since 1920. 1920, yeah. So way back, you know some of the veterans had to have been involved, and they found bank accounts that dated back to then that had the funds specifically for a monument for the Mississippi soldiers. And so they were able to kind of get people interested again and get some more money. I think the state of Tennessee has some matching funds that they were willing to do once they got up to a certain amount, and they were able to put up a beautiful, beautiful monument there at Shiloh. It has 3 figures that are Confederate soldiers from Mississippi charging into the battle, into the fray, holding their Claiborne battle flag proudly. And it was just inspiring. I really enjoyed seeing something brand new there. But on to racing, I digress.
On to Saturday.
I mean, here, after all this time, 50 episodes, you finally find out that StockCar Scott is interested in something besides just racing. Okay, Saturday was up early, so we could head down to Talladega. It took us about 2.5 hours to get down there, which is about the same time that I spend to go from Seattle to Yakima, but the terrain is very different. A lot more trees. They were changing in color and everything. And of course, no mountains. Just, well, they think they're mountains here, but they haven't seen what we have out in Seattle now, have they? Anyway. So, as we got closer to Talladega, we were actually able to pick up MRN station, a racing radio station there that was broadcasting near the track, filling everybody in on what was happening that weekend, which was really nice because there were all the other stations were playing
college football.
College football. I think what Auburn and Arkansas was getting ready to play, and then all the other teams. So, you know, one of the radio stations though did dedicate themselves to NASCAR, so we were able to keep up with truck qualifying, not the race. You know, I'm sure they played the race later. In fact, you know, we could hear it in the grandstands, but truck qualifying. So we were able to keep up with what was going on while we were traveling down that way. And we were able to find out that Timothy Peters in the number 17 Red Horse Racing Toyota Tundra had placed that truck on the pole. Beside him was, let me check my notes here, beside him was, that yellow number 05 truck, the Zaxby's Silverado of John West Townley. But the boy does get in a lot of wrecks.
He has some problems.
Well, I remember that time when he was driving from Mike Walsh's where he got in a DUI wreck. So, you know, anyway, I digress. But Mr. Townsley was on the outside of the front row. Let's see, third was points leader, you know, that phenom, Eric Jones, in the number 4 Toyota Tundra that he drives for the Toad. And let's see, right behind him was one of the other points battlers, third in points, the number 19 of Tyler Reddick, you know, the guy that drives for Bad Brad Keselowski. And the second place points guy, at least before the race, was Matt Crafton, and he lined up, let me see here, 7th, I do believe is where he lined up. I was wrong about Tyler Reddick. He only lined up at 15th. That's right. He finished a lot better than that, though, as we'll find out. Okay, and one other driver that we'll mention, our favorite driver that we went to see. Of course, I've been cheering for him for a while, but Jamie had no problem in picking up Tyler Tanner as a favorite. Yes, Tyler Tanner from Auburn, Washington. You know, we've seen him race up in the Northwest there. Well, it was his first race at Talladega, and I was glad to be there to see it. I think he just did a wonderful job there in his number 63 Mittler Brothers Silverado. That you know, he works on himself, and he qualified that truck in the 28th position. We got down to the track. We're able to find some good parking, and with enough time to find our way to our really sweet seats that Jamie had gotten for us. They're in the section called the Birmingham Tower Extension section, and this is a new section that's way up on, that they built up on top of everything else. And from where we were sitting, we were only like about 20 or 30 rows away from where the spotters stand and watch the trucks. So, Jamie, thank you very much. Those were great seats. Yeah, last year I took him to see the Dennis Smith Memorial. This year he takes me to see the Camping World 500. I wonder who got the better deal. But you did see some good racing last year at South Sound.
I did. I wish I could return the favor on some of it.
Well, a lot of the racing was good at Talladega once they got going there. Of course, Talladega's huge, folks. And you need Rodney Dangerfield here to tell you how big it is. It's big. It's big. It's big.
It's big.
It's big. And I've been there before, and I'm used to how big it is, but the first time I walked in, it was like big. So we're walking in under the grandstands, and we've got to go walk about a half mile to get to our seats.
It's longer than that.
Okay, and there's all of these places where you can take the stairs through the grandstand, the portal to the stairways. And each time we'd pass one, I'd have to drag Jamie over to look at Tyler's truck. You know, I'd go, "Hey, there's his truck number 63 down there. Get a good look at it." And he did.
I saw your truck, Tyler. It ran a whole lot better than it looked. I'm sorry, I was a bit critical, but you did a great job.
Well, and as we walked along there, they started doing driver introductions, and so I dragged him back out to another portal so he could see Tyler there up on the big screen as he was being introduced.
All right, fine young man.
Yes, he does. And finally got up to our seats, just get set down good, and had to stand right back up for some praying and singing.
That's what we do in Alabama.
Yeah, but unlike Alabama, there was no unlike Washington, there was no "Oh Canada" to sit through. Oh no, not at Talladega. Although Canadian driver Cameron Haley there in the number 13 Tundra was there. The race was up and down kind of race. They do that at Talladega. The two-time defending champion Matt Crafton was able to work his way up front, and I do believe he led the most laps, but then his day went sour from that. While he was running up front, he got a bunch of debris on his front grille, and he had to drop back again. And you know what happens when you drop back into the pack at Talladega? You get caught up in somebody else's wreck, and that's exactly what happened to him. He got caught up in one early wreck, had to go get his truck taped up and fixed, and then of course when he got back out there later, he got caught up in the big one. So Matt did not have a good day at all. Tyler, on the other hand, he was having a wonderful day. I would have liked to have been a fly inside of the number 63 Silverado there and been able to see the big smile on his face, because I know there was one under that helmet. We saw him, for his first time at Talladega, we saw him make some really nice moves. There was one, you know, I'd be going, look at him, look, and he makes this, he gets this big run coming out of the front stretch in turn one, and takes this fellow on the outside on turn two, and then just down the back stretch and leaves him. I mean, Tyler was wheeling it.
He picked up on the draft quickly out there. He did a good job. He kept up with traffic. He didn't make any crazy moves. He raced a smart race.
Yeah, smart and clean. That is what I have to say. The two best ways to describe his race, and I know he is having fun in there. You know, I only wish that the budget of his team would have allowed him to get tires during the last caution. He got tires the first caution, but while he was refueling for the finish of the race, I think another set of tires would have helped him really keep up with the guys in the front. But you know, low budget teams, they can't afford an extra set of Wranglers sometimes. So still, we were pretty amazed at how well he performed. Amazing.
I'd still like to find out why he didn't get tires.
Well, maybe they thought track position was more important, you know.
Yeah, they did have they would lose a few spots when they would come in for the pits. And that's what I thought was impressive. He could make those spots back up out on the track.
Yeah, he ran up towards the end of the race. He ran up as high as about 15th, if not even a little bit higher at times. It's kind of hard to judge at Talladega because they shift around so much. But unfortunately, late in the race, when it seemed Tyler was running at his best, the worst happened. With only a handful of laps to go, what, 10 laps to go or so, and Tyler was headed for what looked to be a career best finish ever, you know, and Matt Tiff, this kid that runs, usually runs for Kenny Schrader, was running at Talladega for the Toad in one of his Toyota Tundras, and he set off the big one there in the Alabama Gang Super Stretch with a couple of laps to go, and Tyler got caught up in it. Nothing of his own making. You know, I'm sure that if he could have gotten through that wreck, that the finish would have just been amazing. You know, he may have even got a top 10, but as it was, the big one caught up him and Matt Crafton and 8 other drivers. So, about the only good thing that came out of that big one was there was a red flag. Took them a long time to clean up, and that gave me time to do what everyone does these days: check my cell phone. Oh, let me get me a drink here before I run out of voice. Yeah, during the extended red flag, I got a message on the cell phone on Facebook that Molly Helmut was at the track up in the spotter stand. So I stood up, turned around and looked, and there she was. I could see her from my seat. I forgot to tell Jamie what I was doing. I just hopped up out of the seat, went walking up the stairs, and I was up at the top. He thought I was probably going to go try to get an autograph from a spotter or something. I don't know. But what's his name? Majors that spots for Junior. I don't think he was up there, so I wouldn't need an autograph. So got up there close enough to where I could see Molly and shouted out to her, and she actually turned around, acknowledged me, and came on down and sat with us for a little while. We had a couple of extra seats around us, and it was nice. I got to introduce somebody in Alabama that I know from Washington to a family member of mine, which was a really big treat for me. And also we got a little insight on how the racing was going for Tyler, or the race had gone, because by the time we were talking to her, unfortunately, Tyler's race was over. But I think the way she said he described running at Talladega was like
running on interstate.
Running on interstate, but no interstate like I've ever been on. Well, they got like 33 degree, 36 degree.
I think it's 33.
33 degree banking. I wish they'd build interstates like that. Well, I'd get more tickets. But Molly, you know, couldn't stay with us very long. She had to go ahead and go back up to the spotter stand, catch her ride back to the infield, because she was there with the Tanners. Unfortunately, Tyler's day was done. They threw the red flag. He was able to get his truck pushed back behind the wall, but they couldn't work on it, and it was really too damaged to do anything with for the green-white checker that was about to come up. But I was just glad to see him race well and not get himself in trouble. So, but during this time, I could see down on the pit road that his parents were down there on the pit box, Kelly and Leanne Tanner, on that stark white pit box that needs some sponsorship on it.
Plenty of room for sponsorship on that box.
Really, that's something, you know, would look nice on there. Oregon's Tillamook cheese or something, I don't know what, but something to get that team where it needs to be. But still, it was nice seeing people from Washington there at the race. So I'm going to go ahead and give a big shout out to Kelly, Leanne, and Tyler Tanner, and also Molly Helmut. It was really nice seeing you there at the race. Okay, after about that 15-minute red flag, they did get going again for a green-white checker. which seems to have become all the rage there at Talladega. The 2 laps of green white checker were never finished, which also seems to be a pattern at Talladega. The main reason was caused when they were going through the backstretch during the first lap. Timothy Peters put a wicked block on Spencer Gallagher. Spencer Gallagher is last year's ARCA champ, and the equipment that he had from last year is what Grant Enfinger used this year to win his ARCA championship. But Spencer Gallagher is still kind of learning how the trucks go, and like I said, Timothy put a block on him that just had him squirrely all over the place. He ran into John Rex Townley, which is strange for a change that John Rex wasn't the one that caused the wreck. But that brought out the last caution, which ended the race. They awarded the win to Timothy Peters in the Red Horse Racing Tundra. And that was the second time that he had won. He won the truck race there last year, so he's the defending champ. Phenom Eric Jones, who was leading the points, finished 4th, so he is still leading the points. He was followed in 5th place by Tyler Reddick, who jumps over Matt Crafton, who had all of his problems. So Crafton falls to 3rd, Reddick is now 2nd. Our favorite driver, Tyler Tanner, had a finish of 26th, but that just does not reflect how well he did in his first race there at Talladega. We were impressed, and we've been to Talladega a few times. Right, Jamie?
Very impressed for him to get out there and race like that. Never driven the track, and he got out there and raced that hard, that clean, and that smart.
Yeah. So, next Camping World Truck Series race is the Croker 200 at Martinsville, Virginia, this coming Saturday as the support race for the next Cup Chase race. Unfortunately, Tyler will not be racing at that race. They have another driver who brought some money. So there'll be a sponsor on the truck. Tyler just won't be in it. But that's okay. I'm pretty sure we'll get to see him again. Okay, that's what's happened Saturday. But before we get back to going to Dega, I want to do a little house cleaning. Let me talk about F1. Even though I haven't seen it yet, there was an F1 race at the Circuit of the Americas there in Austin, Texas. I missed the whole thing except for the last lap on the replay Sunday night, because it took us a long time to get back from Talladega to North Alabama. It wasn't a 2-hour drive, 2.5-hour drive by a long shot. It took us, what, an hour just to get away from the track to where we were rolling good. But that's what happens when you're around, you know, another 180,000 people. So, so like I said, didn't get to see any F1, but I do know my favorite, Lewis Hamilton, is now repeat champion, 3-time F1 world champion. He now has the points to where he's locked in for the rest of the season as the champion. And he won the race. Don't let that little detail slip by. He did win the race there at Austin. I heard it was real impressive, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. I heard there was a really wicked move that he put on his teammate there. What's his name? Rosberg. And so now Hamilton has 43 wins and 3 championships, which passes him, gets him past Sebastian Vettel, who only has 42 wins, but he has 4 championships. So they've got a lot of rivalry racing to do over the next few years. Sebastian Vettel finished 3rd in the Austin race, and what's his name was 2nd after starting on the pole. Now, qualifying for F1 was delayed because Saturday they had, it rained so hard there in Texas that they couldn't even have qualifying. And then when they did have qualifying the next day before the race, it got shortened by, I think, they didn't have the last qualifying session. So, even though Nico Rosberg started on the pole, he still got whooped. He still got beat by his teammate, my favorite, Lewis Hamilton. So, I'm looking forward to seeing that race when I get back to Seattle. I've got it recorded. Maybe I'll talk about it a little bit on the next show. But I'll be busy on the next show talking about their next race, which is at Mexico City this coming weekend. So that ought to be a really good race too. And did I mention my favorite, Lewis Hamilton, is the new world champion. Of course, second and third are still up for a fight. Right now, second is Sebastian Vettel, and Nico Rosberg is back behind him 4 points, so that could change between now and the end of the season. Kimi Räikkönen he's another 100 points back behind him, so he's not really a factor in the top three. Okay, now Talladega, almost. Okay, let me cover one item before we get to the race. And I should say 4 items, not just one, because I had time to shop after the truck race and before the Sprint Cup race, and I got me some really sweet die casts. Don't have it with me on set this evening, but it's being shipped right now back to Seattle, and you'll get to see it in the future. I've got 4 really nice junior cars that I had to pick up for my die cast collection, so you will get to see them in the future in the pits. Sunday after shopping was race time. We got ourselves ready and up into our seats in time to enjoy the race. I wish we could have enjoyed the whole thing, but as everybody knows, you know, all people have had their say, and maybe you're watching right now to see what StockCar Scott has to say about what happened on Sunday. Sunday, we got to see a really good race up until, well, first 135 laps, caution free, and they didn't have to throw a caution to create drama. They had already done that by penalizing one of Junior's crew men for stepping over the wall too soon. You know, things happen. They've got that electronic scanning stuff that makes no mistakes, so they had him dead to rights. He was over the wall too soon, which Junior had to run a drive-through, and folks, he had been running a great race all day long, been running up front, leading the most laps. One little mistake put him to the back, but he was able, after the caution for the blown engine by Justin Allgaier, who no one seems to take any suspicion that, what kind of engine does Justin Allgaier run in that number 51 there, Jamie?
It's a Hendrix motor, isn't it?
That's a Hendrix motor. You know, and isn't it amazing that a Hendrix motor blew up just at the right time for Junior to get the lucky dog to get back on the lead lap?
Did any other Hendrix motors have any problems during the race?
No, not even a cough. You know, and they're in all of the Stewart-Haas engines and all of the Hendrix engines. And Hendrix had quite the day. There were times when all 4 of the top 4 cars were Hendrix 4 cars. You know, it was Junior, Casey, Jimmy, Jeff. You know, they ran like that for a long time, and it looked like that was who we were going to pick from for the winner, and I was happy with one of the choices. So the race began to play itself out. Junior got the penalty. He got the lucky dog and got back. He
did not have the lucky dog.
That's right. He was way back at the back.
He had not been lapped yet.
Martin Truex Jr. got the lucky dog on that one. Yes, exactly. And but Junior, you know how it goes. You lose the draft and you're going to get lapped. And he was only maybe another 2 or 3 laps from the pack catching him and lapping.
He seemed to be losing about 2 seconds, a lap, and he didn't have long to go.
Yeah. So as we said, it was very advantageous that Hendricks engine blew up at that time, so he could catch up to the back. And once he went in, got him fresh tires, gassed up with everybody else, and then ran back up through the pack like he had planned it all day long. It did not slow him down in the least. He had the car. It was amazing. Unfortunately, once he did get back up to the front and was running real well, also the Joker, Logano, had made his way up to the front, and he was a legitimate threat to win. He didn't just luck his way up there or anything like that, even though I'm not really fond of him. And when the racing was getting good, just when the racing was really getting good. And one of the stories that nobody hardly even talks about is from Western Washington, from Vancouver, Washington, almost pulling out a fuel race win, Greg Biffle. I mean, that would have made my wife very happy. And I would have minded seeing that happen, because at least it would have been race strategy that won the race. And it would have been a race to the end. But no, that didn't happen for Greg. McMurray brings out that final caution with his blown engine, his Childers Ganassi engine. And that brings out the final caution and the final restart, which was supposed to be a green-white checker, and then the race would be over, which is what should have happened. But everybody that watched knows that isn't what happened, because cars started to spin and bump into each other during the first attempt at the restart. They rescinded the green flag. They put the yellow back out.
The green light did come on. The leader of the race had started the race.
Yes. But NASCAR decided that no, conditions were where they needed to throw the yellow flag. Now, even though they threw the yellow flag, all of the cars that spun rolled away quickly
under
their own power and made it to the pits. So conceivably, that could have gone on and been a race lap. They could have, and we think should have, gone ahead and let that have been the green-white checker. That way, they could have gotten to the back stretch, and if people were still stranded on the front stretch,
then you throw the yellow.
Then you throw the yellow. But no, I think they had a little premature caution there.
My last name's not France, so...
There you go. Or Hilton, so we don't make those decisions. So the girl up there in the flag stand brings out the yellow. Everybody slows down, no lap. They say, okay, that wasn't an attempt at a green-white checker, because we stopped it before they got to the start-finish line.
Waved off the green.
Waved off the green. Now, yes, they can do this because of where the start-finish line is at Talladega. It's way down past the exit of pit road. Very much different from any other track on the circuit. So it takes so long for the time between the pace car going off and the cars hitting full speed that they actually had time.
The pace car comes off into pit road. They come into the trial.
And Greg Biffle also goes off into pit road, and Junior moves up into his spot.
That's it. But they don't. They start in the trial. The starting area is in the trial, and usually they start instead of trying to brake check.
And during that starting, that's what Joker Logano did. Was he was like the Midas man. He was checking submitted brakes.
You racers know what we're talking about.
Yeah, even Junior mentioned how much brake checking that was going on during those two attempted restarts. So, and you could see it. You could see it on the replay. You could see Logano's car physically falling back behind Junior's, and Junior having to fall back behind him, and all the cars behind him stacked up, setting off the first non-start. So they go around again, line them up again, and except for Johnson and Larson and whoever the other one was that spin. During that start, during that attempt, Jamie starts poking me in the side going, look, 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 Harvick's having problems. He's either cut a tire or something's going wrong. And I look in the wrong direction and I missed it. But sure enough, Harvick's pulling off during that first attempt at a start. I didn't really think about it. They line him back up. Find out later that Harvick's engine's pretty much toast and he can't go. Now the controversy becomes not only should they have even had that restart, but should Harvick have been out there? Of course he was supposed to be out there, folks. He's a racer. He's trying to win a championship. You don't get points in the pits. You don't get points for just pulling off. You get points for crossing the finish line. And that's what he was trying to do. He was trying to get the best finish he could with the car that he had. Did he do anything intentional to try to improve where he would finish? I think a couple of years ago there was a controversy just before the chase started, and they told drivers from then on that they had to give 100% and try to win at any cost all the time, or they might be booted out of the chase like they did Martin Truex Jr. a few years ago at Richmond. So what is Harvick supposed to do? He's got to race. He's got to push it at full speed. Whatever his car will do to finish, to try to get the best finish. So that's what he did.
Kevin Harvick earned that position to be there and to try to at least attempt to start that race. And I know there's lots of racers that watch this show that'll understand that you want to give your car one more chance to get going. And I'm sure that's what Harvick did. After he figured out it's not going to go, it's going to lay down on me, get it over to the side.
He tried to pull out of the way. And because of another NASCAR rule that says during a restart you can't pass under someone, Trevor Bayne only had one place he could go. And then once Trevor got in trouble with Harvick, then Matt Kenseth starts turning down under Harvick. I mean, maybe I'm saying it wrong, but it looked like his action exacerbated the problem. So, I don't know. You know, NASCAR let him out there. He's trying his best to do what he can to stay in the chase. I can't say I wouldn't have done the same thing.
I'd have given the car another chance at least.
So they go ahead and call the race because some of the cars had gotten past the start-finish line. They figured that was an actual start. Plus, this time, cars weren't just spinning off into the infield. They were crashing and burning. Little Denny Hamlin was on fire. So they had to throw a caution to get the emergency vehicles out there. It would have been nice, again, if they had let them run to the back stretch. You know, but because of safety, you know, they had to go ahead and end the race and award the win to the Joker. Even Junior said that if he had another 100 yards, he'd be in a chase today. But I am going to try my best to follow the example of my favorite driver, and I'm going to try to take the high road. You know, I know there are lots of things that could have happened. In fact, we just went through quite a few of them right there. But that's not what happened. And he seems to be willing to accept what happened. Maybe he's not okay with it, but he's willing to accept that he knew the rules before he went to race a NASCAR race. It was their rules, and NASCAR allows drivers to race there. It isn't a right. It isn't a privilege. It's a privilege to get to race there, but it isn't just something that you're entitled to because your name is Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Yeah, Junior was very classy, very magnanimous. He seems like a positive yet humble guy, and he abided by NASCAR's decision. But when it comes down to the end of the day, the race wasn't won. NASCAR made a decision, and it was awarded to somebody. And I think they really need to take a look at that and do something to change it. They're all big on making changes to help competition. Well, let them compete.
And Talladega was probably the worst venue that they could have picked to have a decision not go Junior's way. I looked over at my brother as soon as they announced Logano winning. I looked over at him and I said, "Here come the beer cans."
Oh yeah.
And you can see it. And unfortunately, a little girl got hit in the face by one of them. You know, so you know, it's not something that that I feel good about, but I've seen it happen before at Talladega, and I can understand. In fact, the last time I was at Talladega, and I saw Brian Vickers wreck his teammate Jimmy Johnson and Junior at the same time, and then they awarded him the win, awarded the win to Vickers. The beer cans came flying out that day. So
they will arrest you for that, though.
Yes, well, we saw a guy getting matching bracelets, surrounded by a bunch of concierges.
Large concierges.
Yes.
Well dressed and large.
Yes, in brown shirts and green pants, and they were putting him in a nice luxury automobile to give him a ride someplace.
I'm sure he got a vacation of at least a few days.
Yes, and accommodations. But like I said, it was the wrong place to run afoul of Junior's fans. You know, I just have to say about right now, Junior Nation's ready to declare war on France, and they might win. But you know, as big of a fan base as Junior has, you know, they are really messing with the wrong people. But you know, Junior, like I said, he put it in perspective, and hopefully the rest of us will also be like Cubs fans and just go, like Mariners fans. What am I saying, Cubs? Like Mariners fans, there's always next year. Oh, and we'll wind it up. The next race for the Chase is this weekend at Martinsville. It's the next section of playoff races, so all the chasers start at 0 again. That means the people who made it through, Jeff Gordon, Joey Logano, the Toad, his brother, Bad Brad, Cousin Carl, and Harvick made it into the next round. I would be very surprised to see Joey Logano make it out of the next round. I think Matt Kenseth still has a little bit something for him. So we'll have to see how that goes. Also, you know, Martinsville could be where Jeff Gordon advances to Homestead. Jeff Gordon does great at Martinsville. It's one of his best tracks, and he could very well earn his way into the next round. So we'll just have to see what happens. Of course, last year, who won Martinsville last year this time of year? Junior! Got him one of those grandfather clocks that they give to the winner at Martinsville. So I'm really looking forward to that.
I didn't notice till Harvick started winning later in the season.
But and of course, another thing that goes on in my life, not my brother, he doesn't watch, but I'm back to watching Walking Dead, and all you people who watched this weekend, we're still wondering what happened to him. Oh no, who will deliver our pizzas now? But that's not racing. We'll get back to racing this next week. What have we gone on here? Man, the show has gone on just way too long. That's what happens when you only write half a script and you got to ad-lib the rest of it. So it's been wonderful being here in Alabama. You folks just, you don't know. Even though the race turned out the way it was, I wouldn't have rather been any other place this weekend than with my brother at a race. I mean, that's just, for me, that's fantastic. Until next week, you know, I'll do this again next week. Same Stock Car time, same Stock Car channel. So please tune in, and maybe we'll have some controversy to talk about from Martinsville next week. But until then, see you next week in Seattle, folks. Thanks for watching.